Welcome to the Hillbillyfiles. Today I am in Sidney, Kentucky, and eastern Kentucky, far eastern Kentucky, just next to the West Virginia border, as a matter of fact. Very small community. There's a road came by, bypassed 30 years ago, and you know how that goes. It just causes the whole community to dry up, and it becomes a bypass. But I'm gonna guess probably 1,000 or less residents, and probably almost as many in this graveyard as there is in town. But today I'm out to tell you guys a very unique story, and it's a story that Heather and I, that we ran across, that we just thought really it needed to be told. There's so many lost stories and lives that have been forgotten to time all over the world, and it's natural, it's normal, I suppose, but we've really grown fond of bringing these people and these stories back to life when we can, and this is definitely one of those cases. Most people are drawn to stories that make you sad or confused, angry even. And it's not because you necessarily enjoy it. I think it's because a lot of the time it's just so hard to comprehend what must be going through someone's mind at the time to make them do the things that they do sometimes. Most of us don't wake up and think about doing those things that others would do without a second thought. But no matter how many stories you watch, it will never really make sense. But these kinds of stories are not new. They have been happening since the dawn of time, really. And today is no exception. So I guess the only thing to do is start at the beginning and tell you guys the story. And where I'm going is right back up there, just beyond where that gentleman is weed eating. I just came up and spoke to him to let him know what I was doing. Some stranger videoing him, and told him who I was and what I was doing, and turns out he's related to the McCoy side of the Hatfield-McCoy feud. Guess what? We're distant relatives. I seem to run into that quite often, doing these stories and running around here and that sort of thing. You run into a lot of them. I just stopped here for a second. I just happened to notice something. Look here. Hello. Hello, little dude. They say you should always put them back the same way they're going. Like if you move one out of the road, turn him the same way that he was facing. But anyway, right up there is where we were going. And I guess, as Paul Harvey used to say, get up there and we'll tell you guys the rest of the story. These graves right here are the reason that I came over here. Now I'll tell you why in a second. I'll show them to you first. Kenneth Sartin, September 18th, 1900. Vicey C. Sartin, July 13th, 1892 to June 30th, 1983. And I'll show you these, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story and tell you exactly why we're here today. This is Harold Sartin, 1928 to 1965, gone but not forgotten. Now this right here is Mary, and remember that name. Mary Sartin, 1938 to 1965. Rita Sartin, 1958 to 1965. Harold Sartin Jr., 1960 to 1965. Kenneth Sartin, 1962 to 1965. David Sartin, 1963 to 1965. Brian Sartin, 1965 to 1965. Now, did you notice something unique? Something that all of those had in common? It's that date, isn't it? It's that last date is what we're referring to. Now, I'm going to get comfortable here, kind of sit down just a little bit. Now, this first one right here that I showed you, Mary, I said to kind of remember that. Mary Magdalene McNew was born July 3rd, 1938 in Rock Lick in Buchanan County, Virginia. In a 1940 census, her father, Clarence McNew, was 41 and working as a coal loader, and her mother, who is always listed as Algie, A-L-G-I-E, is 19. Now, her obituary says her mother's name is Mabel, but this is Algie McNew, is definitely, and she's definitely raising herself and her siblings alone in the next census of 1950. Clarence is showing as remarrying to Mary, who is his age, so we definitely have a family split, and who really knows what else. But at 19, Mary married Harold Sartin, who was 10 years older than her, perhaps hoping to make a family unit she had never had, security, love, you know, the same things that everyone strives for, but it seems like few manage to achieve. Now, Mary's husband, Harold Kenneth Sartin, was born June 20th, 1928, right near here in Belfry, Kentucky. His father is Kenneth Sartin, and his mother is Goldie Gooslin. He is listed as being 5'10" and around 135 pounds, with a ruddy complexion, brown hair, and gray eyes. Since census stopped after 1950, we can't get as much info about why they ended up living in Sandusky, Ohio, but they moved there and lived near Lake Erie. In 1963, Harold, Mary, and some of the kids moved into a small one-story concrete block house, and this is where the problems began. Mary began to tell people about her marriage problems, and for a few years this went on. Mary was 26 in August of 1965 and had 5 children ranging from 7 months old to 6 years old. Her neighbor, Virginia Barnes, was 28 at the time and made a statement while sobbing to police that she didn't believe she would do it. The "it" that she referred to we'll get into shortly. But for some time, Mary's marriage to Harold was unraveling, and resentment was building. She would tell that he slept in the garage and that one day she was just going to kill him. She was sick of his treatment and cheating. Then a final rumor came around to her that he was seeing a woman in Sandusky, and that when he got paid, he planned to leave with her and go live in Australia, where he was free to lay on the beach child-free and live a brand new, perfect little life in paradise. Meanwhile, Mary, on the other hand, had a newborn baby, along with a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. She was suspected of having untreated postpartum psychosis, possibly, which is a very dangerous condition for some women. Postpartum psychosis is a condition that you can get after giving birth. It literally affects your sense of reality. You can have hallucinations or delusions even. In severe cases, you might try to harm yourself or your newborn or even other children. Postpartum psychosis is a true mental health emergency, but it was unheard of in 1965. On the night of August 13th in 1965, Harold was in his night clothes, sleeping in a double bed in the garage behind the house, when Mary came out and shot him 3 times in the head with a .32 caliber pistol she had recently bought. She then gathered the children in her small bedroom and laid them out on the bed. She shot each one once in the side of the head before turning the pistol on herself. She was found on the bedroom floor. This was their last day together, she had told a friend, because he was leaving her when he got paid. The family was sent back here to be buried in Harold's hometown where his family is buried. The funeral was held in Belfry, Kentucky at Rogers Funeral Home, which is still there today. We have actually been there way too many times, if you get my meaning. Harold's dad, Mary's mom, along with surviving brothers, sisters, friends, and horrified family and neighbors, came to see 7 coffins go into the ground. A whole family wiped off the planet forever. Mary is buried in the middle of her family, which seems a little bit unfair. She probably should have lost that right when she denied them their very lives, but that's just an opinion. It just seems odd considering the facts. But today we remember the Sartin family and what these children may have been one day. What was lost in those moments we'll never know. Rest in peace, Sartin family. Now the thing about this, like I mentioned, the postpartum depression, this was completely unheard of in 1965. It was just considered someone snapped, someone went crazy. Now I don't know, I wasn't there, you know what I'm saying, realistically speaking. But these sorts of things can be explained by, you know, as far as the children goes. Now the marital issues is something entirely, that's a separate issue, obviously. But the whole postpartum depression thing it's a common thing that we hear of from time to time in our modern world, but back in the day it was completely unheard of in 1965. You know, you just went crazy. Like, you know, back in the day you went blind. They didn't know if it was glaucoma or macular degeneration or anything. You just went blind. And, you know, in this case, you just, you know, cases like this, they just considered you went crazy. But the thing about it, and here's the rub. Back before my mom passed away in 2020, she got, you know, she had cancer and she was in pretty bad shape. And they had her on steroids. And when she went on steroids, you know, just body chemistry, you know, your chemical makeup, that sort of thing, the steroids changed her into a completely different person. It wasn't just a personality change. I mean, if you've been watching the channel, you kind of get the idea what kind of person I am. You have to work to get on my bad side. You don't just wind up there by accident. You have to earn it. And Mom was the same way. You know, that's where I got it from. But when she was on those steroids, she was literally a completely different person. And, you know, would say mean things, that sort of thing. And then 10 minutes later, she wouldn't even remember saying it. And, you know, postpartum is also, it's sort of similar. You know, it's your body chemistry. And, you know, if this is the case, I mean, just imagine an entire family wiped out for eternity, for all time, over a temporary medical condition that, given time, you know, postpartum depression, like I said, it's a body chemistry imbalance. It corrects itself over time. But during that time, all bets are off. You never know. But like I said, we just wanted to come out and remember this family and these children, and Mary as well. It's like I said, I know it's a hard story to hear. It's a hard story to tell. A lot of them are. But realistically speaking, stories like these should be told for obvious reasons. You know, it's a cautionary tale, wisdom, just our collective human knowledge. You know, we'll never get better tomorrow if we don't learn from yesterday. Does that make sense? But here rests the entire Sartin family, pretty much. The immediate family, anyway. Tragic story, isn't it? You know, you don't really expect something like that when, you know, we found this story, and, you know, it just seems so strange to hear stuff like that, but there it is. There's the evidence right in the center of your screen. Maybe this little story can maybe do somebody a little bit of good. Maybe realize something, or I think you get the point. Anyway. Alright guys, y'all have a really good day, and thank you for watching. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters and page members, and a big thank you to YouTube for giving us the platform in the first place. You know, we don't really thank them enough. We thank our viewers quite often, but I guess I don't really thank YouTube very often, but thank you, YouTube. This is Leo with the Hillbillyfiles. Leo out.